Well, the obvious happened, as Amy Coney Barrett is now confirmed to the Supreme Court, giving conservatives a 6-3 majority. This will, of course, have an impact for decades to come, and the only way that Democrats will be able to change that is if they try and expand the court, which will require some actual pressure from the people in the country. As you're going to see, this result does not represent the will of the people. As Vox writes here, Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed by a slim 52-48 vote. The 48 senators who voted against Barrett represent 13.5 million more people than the 52 senators who voted for her. Of course, because most red states have lower population, so you have still 2 senators per state, regardless of population, which results in a situation like this. This is not a democratic process. So you have a 6-3 conservative majority on the court, even though Trump lost the popular vote by millions of votes. Trump is going to lose the popular vote again and still may attempt to try and steal the election with the help of this Supreme Court pick. This is not a democracy. Vice writes here, Democrats have also tried to highlight just how much power Justice Barrett, 48, will have to rewrite American law and potentially shape the course of an election in which nearly 60 million people have already voted. Not only are issues like abortion, LGBTQ rights, and gun control likely to come before the bench in the coming years, but the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in another lawsuit over the Affordable Care Act on November 10th, just days after the election. So I've discussed that before. There's a potential that they may be able to strike down the Affordable Care Act, though there is dissenting opinion on that. But we're going to find out, aren't we? Ari Berman here, tweeting out minutes before Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed. Supreme Court rules 5-3 to throw out ballots in Wisconsin that are postmarked by Election Day but arrive after. 80,000 ballots were counted in primary that arrived after Election Day but were postmarked by then. So this is, they don't even need the majority. I mean, they do, but they didn't need it here. Here you have a situation where votes that people cast are not going to be counted because they arrive after Election Day. Likely because of Trump's actions in undermining the U.S. Postal Service. So you have right now mail that's taking forever to arrive because of steps that Trump took, and that's going to have an impact on the results, at least in Wisconsin. And likely this will apply to other states as well. People will have voted and they won't count. And that largely favors Democrats, as more Democrats are voting by mail in this election because they actually believe in science and are worried they might get the coronavirus if they go out and vote. There's a great piece here in New Republic. Again, I linked to all these sources below the video so you can read the whole article, but this is what they end on. This is Matt Ford writing this. He says, as Republicans grapple with a demographic tide that could make them unelectable, the Supreme Court majority they've installed will likely provide both a bulwark against Democratic voters rooting them out of office and the means to limit those voters' wills when Democrats hold the White House and congressional majorities. This, of course, may well invite and even accelerate a broader legitimacy crisis that is already summoning moderate voices off the fence and bringing them into a coalition with others who have begun the drumbeat for larger court reform. Whether this new era of the High Court's history portends the hegemonic dominance of a far-right judicial project or the messy undoing of those schemes at the hands of a radicalized left, it begins tonight. Republicans understand that they are not popular, that the only way they maintain power is by holding up these existing undemocratic systems. Be it the White House, the GOP have lost the popular vote in almost all of the most recent elections where they have the White House. They have lost the popular vote. So they win the White House despite not having most people want their candidate as president. Supreme Court, same thing. The Senate, same thing. The majority of voters are not on their side. The only course of action now is for there to be an actual opposition party, a Democratic Party that actually represents the people. And that requires replacing current Democratic leadership and doing whatever you can, be it political groups, be it organizing, unions, using the power that we have to put pressure on these institutions and change how the system operates. But, of course, all of this takes a lot of work. And So far, we haven't seen the work necessary to be able to change anything. David Sirota here, tweeting out saying Nancy Pelosi could have passed impeachment articles or other privileged resolutions to gum up the works in the Senate confirmation process. She refused to lift a finger and now issues a press release saying she's outraged and everyone should go vote. What a complete sham. Exactly. As I discussed at the beginning of this process, what the House could have done is impeach Donald Trump, impeach Bill Barr. That would have been the only thing that would take precedent over the Supreme Court, and it would have delayed the process. At the very least, it would have delayed the process. Sure, they may have confirmed her after the election, but it would have delayed the process at the very least. They didn't even try. There has to be somebody else that challenges Pelosi for House leader. She cannot remain in power. She is total garbage, does not represent what people actually need, what people need in terms of a fighter. Then, of course, you have, Chuck Schumer and eventually Joe Biden, who are not going to be any better. Ro Khanna here, though, acknowledging that it's not going to get any better if Trump stays in power. In fact, it'll only get much worse. He's tweeting out here, Kavanaugh just issued a concurring opinion parroting Trump's claim that states have an interest in not counting absentee ballots after Election Day. Barrett joins the court now. Forget the polls. We need overwhelming turnout to overcome a looming constitutional crisis. There is the potential here that they will steal the election. A strong potential. There's a good chance Trump will steal the election with the help of the Supreme Court. Do people understand how serious this is? The only way to avoid this is if Biden wins on Election Day, which is why I've been saying more recently, if you can vote in person, do that. Vote in person. Hand in your ballot in person. If your vote is not counted on Election Day, much like in Wisconsin, it will likely be thrown out and not included. And there goes the entire process. So I know, look, voting is not the end-all be-all, but we're a week from an election, so I'm going to talk about voting right now. That is what is in front of us. Vote. And then after that happens, it's the next steps. Be it a general strike, be it building up power in various ways to put pressure on a Democratic Party that is incredibly weak and unwilling to push the system in the way that, in the direction that it needs to go in terms of moving to a system that actually represents people. But all of this, as I said, takes a lot of work. Let's do this step by step. The first step, vote, and we'll go from there.